Hey guys, welcome back to Hobbies by Holly. Today's project is a really personal one. This dresser has been with me since my 20s. It was my very first adulting bedroom set after college. And a while back, when I first started refinishing, I gave it a farmhouse makeover. But I was still learning, and as you can see, I made some mistakes that caught up with me. So today we're fixing all of that and sending it off to a very special place. It's going with my daughter to her first college apartment. So let me take you back to when I first refinished this piece. I was just starting out with furniture refinishing, and the two big mistakes I made were that I used latex paint, and that's really not ideal for furniture because it can chip and it peels over time. And the other thing was I used the wrong primer. I used a basic Bullseye, I think it was Zinsser 123, and that doesn't block tannins. So you have to always be careful about which primers you use. And this being a pine dresser, it's notorious for tannin bleed through. And sure enough, over time, all those tannins started bleeding right through the paint. So it's actually a great lesson in what not to do. And I'm sharing it because I know a lot of beginners make these same mistakes. I sure did. And the dresser still looked pretty good overall, but I had painted it in alabaster with a driftwood technique on the top, and it was time for a proper fresh start. So of course, I started off with a good thorough clean. Since this dresser had belonged to me, it wasn't too dirty, but I do like to use Cred Cutter in case there's old furniture polish buildup or different things where the paint won't adhere. So I cleaned it up, and then I started using a 220 grit sandpaper to just degloss the old latex paint. But right away, the paint started peeling off in sheets, as you can see here. And that told me everything I needed to know about how well that latex had adhered. So it was coming off so easily, I could tell it was going to be rough, and I just had to sand it all the way down to bare wood. So then I switched to a 120 and got to work sanding the entire piece. And once I could rub my hand over and feel it completely smooth, that's when I knew it was finally ready for priming. So this took much longer than I anticipated, but it was definitely the right call. The top had a different finish on it, so I didn't have to strip it down quite the same way. I had used a glazing technique and different things, but I did make sure to scuff it up enough for new primer to adhere properly. And then I always like to get out my mouse sander here. It's tried and true, and it's great for these little hard to reach areas that I can't get with my orbital sander. So finally, she was ready for priming. So I got to work taping off the drawers, and then got out my bin shellac primer. And again, since this is pine, you definitely need to use a primer that will block in tannins so they won't bleed through. So I'm putting on my first coat here, and then I let it fully dry and then sanded in between coats. And also on the top, I could see multiple dings and dents that once you add primer, you can really see all the imperfections. So I got out my Bondo glazing putty and got to work on filling all of those in. I love this stuff. It dries quickly, and then you can just sand it, and then you're ready to go with the second coat of primer. While the primer was drying, my daughter and I headed over to Sherwin-Williams to pick up the Evergreen Fog. And she had already made her mind up on this color, so I think she had great taste. I use Sherwin-Williams Emerald Urethane Trim Enamel, and this is my current favorite paint. It's incredibly durable, and I love the fact that it doesn't require a top coat on the body, and so that saves a whole step. So I applied 2 coats, and always sand between your first and second coat, but never after your final coat because you want to keep that smooth finish intact. And I just love the way that this paint levels out. As I always say, It's really nice paint to work with. Next up was the top, and my daughter wanted my signature faux wood look. She wanted it a little bit lighter than I usually do. So I removed the saran wrap that had been protecting the top and mixed up my homemade faux wood recipe, which is plaster of Paris. I use Coastal Villa Sherwin-Williams latex paint and then add some water. And I mixed just enough to cover the top and be able to apply 2 coats and let it dry for about an hour in between. It can get a little rough, so you want to make sure you sand it down after each coat. And then it was time for the Minwax Dark Walnut stain. And I always do this outside because I want to have good ventilation. And I still wear my mask because those fumes are really strong. And she wanted it a little bit lighter than my usual pieces, so I let the stain sit for just 5 or 6 minutes instead of my usual 8 minutes before dragging a clean towel over it to wipe it back. And I let the top dry for about 2 full days after doing this. After everything fully dried, it was time to put her back together. So I put back in all the drawers and removed the tape. And then it was time to add the champagne bronze hardware knobs that she had picked out. This hardware really ties the whole look together beautifully. I just love it. And the last step is adding 2 coats of polycrylic on the top, and this is for protection and durability. Remember, the body doesn't need it since I use the emerald urethane because it has it already built in. So it's great and it saves that extra step in the end. While I was putting on the finishing touches, she came home and got to see it in person for the first time. She was a little camera shy, but she was really pleased with how it turned out. And here she is, Evergreen Fog body, dark walnut faux wood top, and champagne bronze hardware. I love that this piece went from my first adulting bedroom set to my daughter's first apartment, and I love that it gets to keep going. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for new transformations every week. I'll see you next time.